Welcome to Copernicus AI, Frontiers of Science. I'm Matilda, and today we're diving into the fascinating world of transgenerational inheritance. How experiences of our ancestors can influence our own biology. Adam, what makes this field so revolutionary?
Thanks, Matilda. The idea that traits can be inherited not just through DNA, but also through epigenetic modifications, is really shaking things up. It challenges the traditional view that inheritance is solely gene-centric. We're beginning to understand that environment plays a much larger role than previously thought.
So, what kind of evidence supports this idea of transgenerational epigenetic inheritance?
Well, there's a growing body of research, although the mechanisms are still being worked out. For example, Abhay Sharma published a paper on ArcSieve in 2016, titled Reanalyzing Variable Directionality of Gene Expression in Transgenerational Epigenetic Inheritance. Sharma reanalyzed data from a mouse model and highlighted the complexities in interpreting gene expression changes across generations.
Complexities? What does that mean practically?
It means that simply observing changes in gene expression isn't enough to prove transgenerational inheritance. The direction of those changes can vary, and we need to be careful about how we interpret that data. Sharma's work emphasizes the need for rigorous statistical analysis and careful experimental design.
So, it's not as simple as saying grandma's stress equals my anxiety?
Not quite. While the idea is compelling, the science is nuanced. Another interesting study, this one in yeast, looked at the role of genetic polymorphisms in transgenerational inheritance by Zuobin Zhu and colleagues, also available on ArcSieve from 2013. This research suggests that genetic background can influence how transgenerational inheritance manifests. In other words, some individuals might be more susceptible to inheriting epigenetic changes than others.
So, genes still matter even in epigenetic inheritance?
Absolutely. It's an interplay between genes and environment. The yeast study highlights how genetic variations can affect the stability and transmission of epigenetic marks across generations.
Fascinating. What about the mechanisms? How do these epigenetic changes actually get passed down?
That's the million-dollar question, and it's still a major area of research. One potential mechanism involves histone modifications. Zhang and their team published a statistical mechanics model for the dynamics of collective epigenetic histone modification on ArcSieve in 2014. They explored how these modifications, which affect how DNA is packaged, can be maintained and inherited across cell divisions. They suggest that nearest neighbor interactions play a key role in the dynamics of epigenetic histone modification. The link to the paper is in the description.
So the modifications talk to each other?
In a sense, yes. The model suggests that the presence of a modification on one histone can influence the likelihood of modification on neighboring histones, creating a kind of domino effect that helps maintain the epigenetic state. That said, this is still theoretical work.
Are there implications for human health?
Potentially, yes. If environmental exposures can lead to epigenetic changes that are passed down through generations, it could have implications for disease risk. For example, studies have suggested a link between ancestral famine and increased risk of cardiovascular disease in subsequent generations. However, it's important to note that this is a complex area, and more research is needed to fully understand the implications for human health.
What are the future directions of this research?
I think we'll see a lot more research focused on identifying the specific mechanisms involved in transgenerational inheritance, as well as exploring the role of environmental factors. Also, understanding the interplay between genetic and epigenetic factors and their combined effect will also be important. So,
thank you, Adam, for breaking down this groundbreaking research. It's clear that transgenerational inheritance is a complex and fascinating field with the potential to revolutionize our understanding of heredity and disease. Perhaps in the future, We can understand how animals dance when we are not looking. Maybe they inherited it. That study by Xiaojuan Wang and team is available on ArcSieve.
My pleasure, Matilda. It's an exciting area to watch.